Hi, it's Ryan and this is my battle report for the third and final round of the IGL Highlander event in December. In this video I'll talk a bit about why I really enjoyed round 3 despite the result, and after that I'll cover what I thought of the format and what units I've now got my eyes on. So this round was a custom mission called Capture the Antennas. I'll link it below. But basically the goal is to capture the objectives and gain points at the end of each round. Oh, and one classified. Specialist bonus is towards engineers, which is nice as I have 3 in Kosmoflot, and all are pretty good in their own way. Nice and simple. Good objective mission for going second. My opponent was playing vanilla Haqqislam, which is a very strong match against me, so I'm already sweating going in. So as a reminder, what is the IGL Highlander event? It's a 200 point tournament or series of games for beginners at 200 points, with the unique rule that every unit essentially has availability 1, which makes for tricky list building challenges and experimenting with new units and tactics. I was playing Kosmoflot as I wanted to get in more games with them. I also handicapped myself by not taking tags, which I thought were very excessive at 200 points, and no more than one of the Kosmoflot 5. Uxia, Unknown Ranger, Wallace LT, Bears, and a core-linked Volcalat. In this match I used the Unknown Ranger to great effect, so his place in that pool of lofty units is justified. So the classic battle report question: did I win? Well, it was close, so let's find out. Here is my list. It's very similar to the first two lists in that it has a utility Harris led by a gunner, in this case the amazing Unknown Ranger, a cheap LT with chain of command, some specialists like the SAS in 112, and some sandbags and a scalpel. So let's look at the components. The Unknown Ranger Rocket Mechanic Harris is basically here to do it all, and some version of this would have been always in the list. I did think about a Cosmosoldat Patcher from Tovlik, but I was worried about leaving a squishy LT alone in case I drew against Hack, which I did. So I decided to bring the Rocket LT alongside a chain of command model to protect myself from a FIDE. The Unknown Ranger is the heavy lifter in the list, and with MSV1 I can deal with most of Hack's worrisome metic units, and with the Min I can hurt Hack's lack of visors on its main shooters. He's also a specialist and can CC, so I can close the gap with a template or smack the antennas defenders and try and score some points with him. Close to a quarter of my list here, so he better do a lot. Next is the mechanic, whose job is to press buttons. She'll be doing so on 2 dice on 16s thanks to the mission, which is fantastic, so basically an auto include in a Rocket fire team. And then there's the Rocket to form the fire team and be the lieutenant. She also did something, but I'll talk about that in round 3. A Zenit 7 is a specialist here, a backup shooter with chain of command in case I get Alpha hard, or I slip up and lose the Rocket when moving as a fire team. A real possibility I've learned from playing active cores with my Knight Commander. Forcing a -9 fairly easily on your opponent means I can also take out bigger armoured pieces like an Asawari or some of the Hack heavy infantry. They're pretty good. In the game she didn't do much, but that's fine. Not great, but it's fine. I like her a lot after figuring out how to utilise camo and surprise attack better, and how valuable cross drop zone AROs are. The 112 and the SAS here are for specialists, and the SAS here is to move up and melee things that it can melee. Forward observe for cards and push buttons. Like in my other games, she did not do that, but she was damn threatening while doing it. Ermendino's was also an auto include for this mission. Turn 1, round 1, just impetuate up to the antenna, smoke it on my drop zone, roll 2 dice on 16s to catch her, then rinse and repeat for the midfield one. And spoiler, he done that. He got me 2 points and contributed heavily to the final result of the match. Absolute star of the list. Shame yet again, he got before he did some damage to people. Oh, and I forgot Booty again. I doubt it would have been useful unless it was Mimesis as a -6 or the HMG. Mid -6 might have meant I could have just walked up the board with more confidence without worrying about that bloody FIDE. The Varanging is a 9-point regular order and a warband. He's here to walk up the board, find something that can't melee, then proceed to berserk it till dead, and make a return on investment. I had some unlucky dice, but it largely worked. I think I'm a bit out of practice on warbands. I need to get better use out of them. Just round 1, he didn't do one, and round 2, he didn't do much. But round 3, he done something, but the dice said otherwise. The Warcore and the Raven Eye here are to sandbag my opponent's orders, and they did their job. That just leaves the Cataran as my scalpel, and he absolutely returned all 23 points he costed to bring. Climbing plus on a sniper meant that he got so much leeway to get into position and leverage his, although weaker BS, to take out things that aren't just ready for that -9 before range modifiers. Overall, I wouldn't change anything about this list going into Hack, to be honest. It performed very well. I just messed up with the placement of models. My opponent's list is really nice. Haq is really nice, and Haqqislam Baram is an army that I plan on getting into after I spent some more time with Military Orders, Kosmoflot, and Caledonia. So far, just looking at it, we have a Ramble Lieutenant to match my Unknown Ranger, an OK NCO user, a Decoy Lieutenant in the Nafun, and then Chain of Command in the Camoed Farzan, which means putting him into Loss of Lieutenant is near impossible to make worthwhile. The Baird is here, but he didn't really get used. Zamaria is a ridiculous model. The Fide put the Fear of God in me, and 2 bots to provide orders, and a Viral Marksman Rifle Lasisk to give me no end of headaches. There are no fire teams, it is a vanilla, but there are 3 or 4 solo pieces to be really worried about. First off is the Fide. I'll talk about it later in round 3, but it was just a presence I had to worry about. If she hadn't been where she was, I would have played a far more aggressive game. The Boktar Lieutenant was a fantastic piece against Ariana with that viral rifle-like shotgun, and being a specialist really helped here. I think this was the right choice over the Red Fury, as the Paramedic allowed my opponent to get a class fight and change the game in his favour. It also posed an existential threat to literally all of my list. Even the shock immune units like the Unknown Ranger had no BTS against DA, which meant it was a terrifying prospect. I basically had 4 units to deal with it, but the armor rolls meant that in the end I only had 2. The Farzan prevents him going from Loss of Lieutenant and is a specialist. It's basically the same deal as my Zenit 7, but a closer range. Finally, the Lask, which was also a terrifying model for the same reasons as the Boktar, but he decided to hang back, which I think cost my opponent an easy win. With min-3 and covered with a Viral Marksman Rifle, I would basically have to be hard covering all of my lists in the reactive turn. He put it onto suppressive fire a few times, but honestly, I just used my Cataran each time to outrange him and either force him to guts or kill it dead. If he had been more aggressive turn 2, he could have had a lot more of the objective captured than he did. With that, on to round 1. Round 1, I lost the Lieutenant role, I'm pretty sure. He took second deployment as is expected from Haqqislam, and I decided to take second term, which I think was the best option for both of us. I deployed first and foolishly forgot how deployment works and wasted a command token to hold back 2 units that I didn't need to. I tried to hold back the Raven Eye and Zenit to lock out a Fide, but I forgot he deployed before I did. I mean, otherwise I would have just done the Raven Eye and hidden the Zenit more. I placed the Harris in the left-hand side as I felt that was my best space to manoeuvre out of and to take objectives and fight his pieces. My Armandino and 112 were hidden behind the same wall, both prepared to jump out and push buttons. The Cataran deployed in a good place so he could move out to one of the 3 buildings to surprise and snipe something squishy to death. The Warcore stood up and the Zenit lies down, and a Raven Eye too. The SAS was in an okay position, but it wasn't great. Finally, the Varangian is in position so he can pick a direction if he wants to impetuous. My opponent deployment is largely blocked from a glitch on the table, but it largely doesn't matter except for the Fide right next to my deployment zone and the Lask sort of in the open and the Boktar and the Cum Sister in the position to push up the board. So my opponent goes first, and the first thing that moves is the Cum Sister into the midfield. I had Null deployed, as such, no really need for AROs. She just poses a 14-inch berserk in the active turn. Not really a good thing, but she couldn't get into anything, so sort of just left herself out there hoping that I didn't have any reaction to her, and I mean I didn't, so she was fine. Next up, the Lisk acted and moved out of position to discover my green cam marker, which was my Zenit 7, the real one. I didn't think she could be seen, but I could, and this was a massive failure of deployment on my part, and I should have swapped the real one to red one, but she got discovered, and on the next order or 2 she was killed. Viral basically meant anything that failed to save was dead. I was now officially sweating on like order 3 or something. He has a Fide right next to my deployment zone and a fairly obvious, if you know Kosmoflot, Lieutenant. I was entirely convinced he was going to put me in Loss of Lieutenant turn 1 and just hand me my backside. In hindsight, even if he had done that, I still would have scored a point thanks to the absolute chad that was the Armandino. After he put his Lisk into suppressive fire, which is a nasty thing to deal with, at a base of -9 thanks to cover, minutism, and -3 from suppressive fire. Next up, he makes the Ramble run with the Boktar, which is an even more threatening piece. He moves up, sees the Warcore, and takes a shot. And I think my Warcore crits, and he makes 3 saves, which he manages. He tries it again, and somehow, 1 in like 400 chance or something, he crits again, and he fails his save, and takes the stun. Guts is into cover, and that attack run is dead. With this and maybe some repositioning, my opponent has grabbed no objectives and nothing accomplished except 2 orders gone. My turn is far more action-packed. In Impetuous phase, my Varangian moves up into front of the unknown Ranger Harris and prepares to solo a Boktar to death, hopefully. The Armandino moves up round the corner and smokes the objective. If I get this, it's an easy 1 point. Next order, I use my irregular to walk up and boop a button. I get it handily, so 1 point to me. My Cataran, though, like last game, is poised to get some kills in, so I move back and out of cover to blast the Lask. I managed to immediately get him beyond 24, so that's a +3 for range, -3 for cover, -3 for min. So that's a 9 for me. If he wants to shoot back, it's a -9 for him. So he smartly chooses to dodge on Fizz 8 versus my 2 on 9, which is slightly more likely to hit. Unfortunately, he crits or I whiffs or something, but he dodges handily out of cover, basically losing his Overwatch, and the Cataran is now very happy. Next up, I run my Varangian up to his Boktar, smoke dodge, eventually moving so I can Berserker. This is a prime trade. He responds with the Viro Pistol, which was the correct call here. I think it was in CC, so he couldn't mess with the CC20. I get a 16 or something, so I crit, and he makes 2 AP damage 14 saves, and I take the 2 DH plus shock saves. I fail both, and he somehow soaks both on a 19 and an 18, and the Varangian is just dead. I think I was lucky here, but looking at the maths, just over a third chance to do nothing, which was what happened. Then there was like a 68% chance to do 1 wound, which would have been nice, and finally a 12% chance to knock the Boktar unconscious. Unfortunately, I got the bad result, and I lost the order. I had the smoke out, and the orders left, but I decided not to use my Camel SAS to kill the Boktar, which in hindsight that should have been the next move, but I sensed the dice were not really on my side. If the Boktar had died, I think he would have been smart to get some objectives. I wanted to move the SAS up, but I couldn't vault through windows or sneak round on the Boktar or run into the midfield to safely press a button without triggering the biker gal from my ass. I wasted the rest of the turn laying a mine with the Raven Eye to prevent the V-Day from acting. With that, I should have used the Climbing Plus on the Cataran to prevent the Boktar moving up, or gave my opponent a couple of dilemmas. Instead, I foolishly moved my 1-1-2 up and tried to hide my Harris, which I could have done much better, and well, didn't go well for me. End of round 1, I go 1-0 up. Little more action for round 2. Zamara / the Cum Sister moves up with her Impetuous order, or her regular order, and eyes up my 1-1-2, who I just ever so slightly had in the back arc, and then is shot dead. This is a good start to the culling of my orders. Next up, the Boktar decides to solo my Harris. Again, I'm terrified. She rounds the corners, sees my SAS. He didn't originally see it, but I did. I assumed he would just discover what would be like a 17. Boktar dodges on 16s, so chain rifling her is out, and a light shotgun is out for the same reason. I could have forward observed on 10s, which would have helped the unknown Ranger Harris, but definitely would have caused my SAS to die. I could have flash pulsed in the same way, which might have been better, but instead I decided to dodge into melee. I failed the dodge on like a 16 or something, and she proceeds to shoot me dead. Looking back, I think the correct play here was to dodge and hope for it to work, or do nothing and let him waste the orders discovering. Then when I do get discovered, and sandbag him with a light shotgun on 16s, or dodging his light shotgun, or hope the next dodge after the Boktar discovers the SAS, I can make it into melee and spank her with the D charges. Here he gets his classified for a point, which loses the ability to gain mine, so again I'm feeling stressed. Next up, he draws a bead on my mechanic, and I kind of hope he couldn't see, but I didn't put it prone. I probably should have. The first burst from my rifle was a draw, so the second order I try the Panzerfaust and lose, and she goes straight to dead. Boktar tries to snipe my Lieutenant Rocket, who is somewhat hidden, but instead sees my Unknown Ranger. I dodge with the Rocket and pew-pew with the Unknown Ranger. He then puts all shots into the Ranger, and fortunately he whiffs and nothing happens. This went on for like another order or two, but nothing happens except me losing a lot of weight by sheer sweat. The Lask moves up, and again I put something out and he gets shot. She gets my Raven Eye with what I think is 2 orders, if that, and then he's dead. This was again another silly mistake. I should have placed the EM mine and then moved him further back. With him gone, the Cum Sister moves up and gets isolated, so at least that's something. Can still shotgun me, so the Armandino is fixed in place for now. The end of his turn, he's killed my SAS, Mechanic, 1-1-2, and Raven Eye Officer, leaving me with my Rocket, Lieutenant, Unknown Ranger, Armandino, and Cataran. It's now 1-1 with 2 more turns to go, so I'm feeling so much pressure. I'm basically sitting on diamonds. My turn, and I reject the use of my impetuous tokens. I need to be smart. The Unknown Ranger is my best bet to do as much damage as possible and take out the Boktar, who, if I let rampage, will put me into loss of lieutenant next turn, if not just table me. So I sit down and think, how do I do as much damage as possible in 5 orders, including tactical awareness? First, the biker chick needs to die, so I slide out the Unknown Ranger and line up a shot. She dodges on a 9 and I throw 4 shots. 1 saved, 11, 14 and a hit, and a miss on 18. She then takes both hits and goes straight to dead. I move the Unknown Ranger out without triggering the Boktar until line of sight, which eventually causes her to dodge, choosing to use all 4 inches to climb the ladder and get a height advantage on my Unknown Ranger. While measuring this, I suss out that means that she is at the mercy of my climbing plus Cataran, and he realizes this as well. He is committed to the dodge movement, which is very respectable and what I would have done. He finishes the move on top of the aquifer thing, and next is why I love the climbing plus changes. With the Boktar in a commanding position, I decide to command my Cataran to climb up using the new rules, which is great by the way. Get in a position where I can see the Boktar without cover, and I get a shot off. He declares dodge as I'm way in his -6 for the rifle and rolls a 19, which is a fail, and gets shot on a 12, which is a crit, and a 15, which is a miss. He makes the 2 saves, saving the little one, which is the 1 wound, then fails the big one and eats 2 wounds and goes straight to unconscious. With the Boktar down, so is much of his hard power. My Unknown Ranger slides back into cover. In hindsight, I should have pushed him forward, and my Armandino smokes and hides up. I push no buttons, I gain a point, and go 2-1 up. Everything is now riding on this final round. My opponent announces that I have murdered his lieutenant, and the camel token is now obviously a Farzan since it's chain of command, which doesn't matter as I have no ARO to stop it. He spends some command tokens shuffling around stuff in his backfield, which doesn't matter, except for the bird, who will in a minute. He finally uses his Fide to walk up and CC my Armandino. I see back with decharges. In hindsight, maybe I should have chain rifled him, but to be honest, my dice were bad enough. In the last 2 rounds, I didn't want to risk a successful armor save, so I chose to roll the dice. Instead, I don't know. This was wrong, and I was dying anyway. The Fide, unsurprisingly, won. The Farzan runs up, sneaks by my Unknown Ranger, and pushes buttons either first or second time, as well as the center button, meaning my opponent now has 2 consoles. He coordinates in order to put some mines down the Fide and the Farzan, which is something, I guess. End of his turn, and he's poised to win. My turn, and I have 3 orders, an attack and awareness order, and I wonder if I can win. It is possible, and it will come down to dice, but I might do it. First off, I activate my Cataran to move up, draw a line on his Lask for the 3rd and final time, and blast her. This time I succeed, and she drops to a T2 round, turning her into a fine mist. That bird and the flash pulse bot both get a shot off and miss, one rolling too high and the other with a bird on -12. Next, to clear path out for my Unknown Ranger, I use my lieutenant order to move the rocket round the corner and I shoot the Fide with my SMG, and somehow, I hit with bursts 3 on BS11 or whatever. He fails to save and dies to shock, much like the rest of my army. 3 orders left to move the Unknown Ranger into contact with the comms. First is the attack awareness. I move across the bird and choose to dodge. It succeeds surprisingly and I take 1 wound. I move again out of view of the bird and attempt to dodge again, I think, for that extra inch of movement, and I fail that too. The last order of the game, and I make the move and get to the console with, I think, about 1 inch to spare. I do get shot from a missile bot, I think, or maybe a rifle gulam or something, and I roll my dice. Unfortunately, I get an 18 and the game ends. My opponent won 3-2, even though if I had gotten that button, I would still have called my performance a loss. But congratulations to my opponent. It was a good game, and he won. So why would I call my performance a loss, even if I had won 3-2? Well, simply put, I had played many things wrong in the wrong position, and it cost me 5 units or 11 orders for the rest of the game. I know the Warcore also died turn 1, but he was meant to. This game came down to the last few orders. If I had 2 more orders in turn 2, or an extra specialist, I probably would have taken on trying to get to the midfield objective in round 2, and maybe I would have forced a draw. Maybe in round 3 and been able to recover a console and get a win. This, of course, is highly speculative, but you can see that missing 11 out of a total of 39 orders, 11 troops, 3 attack aware, and 3 lieutenant orders, is huge, and my opponent's order pool essentially being intact hampered me a lot. I very much still think I'm trying to find the balance of picking apart my opponent's orders and not overextending myself. My Varangian and Warband usage was good here, but my Specialist I threw away with silly positioning. Looking at that map, I really didn't like it. I had planned for it, but I still didn't like it. I think on maybe other maps, a Paracommando would have really helped hurt his order pool. So going forward, remembering positioning that just a little bit better, and remembering to either sandbag more or kill his order betters would have helped a lot. Right, so Highlander as a whole and the units I now appreciate. First, the units. So, 3 stand out. The Scots Guard non-camo is like a nice discount toolbox unit. It shoots on BS12, which is fine because we're not Pano, has min-3, which is nice because we're Ariadna, has arm 3, and shoots with AP in almost all of his decent profiles. He has specialist and NCO options too, so can be fairly order efficient. I think I'm going to try them more in Caledonia and Kosmoflot now. More so in Kosmoflot, thanks to the Frontovlik links and the better wild cards. I've been theorising about an Unknown Ranger, Scots Guard, Stranic, Volk and Patcher Pain Train for a while now, and honestly, I think it's pretty tempting. You could also do it with a lot less wild cards as well. They don't get purity, so I may just stick them in a Harris, to be honest. But the Frontiers bring a lot. Frontovliks are also another unit I appreciate for similar reasons. They're armed 2 instead, but gain veteran and assault pistols on every profiles, and have access to paramedics, heavy rocket launchers, engineers with templates, and another good MSV option for Kosmoflot. I'll talk about how I love snipers again in a second, but this is like another great toolbox unit I want to take more of in Kosmoflot and support Harris or Cores and outrange opponents. Final unit I appreciate is Catarans and snipers in general. Both games I've brought him and he did exactly what I needed him to do, and not a penny more. He slew an MSV2 Dejbani to clear up my failed runs. He tangled with a Lysisk on my terms, which meant every irregular order I spent meant he changed the board in my favour. I have been humming and hawing about him on the channel for a while, and people were right. It's a fickle profile to use, but don't think of it as a camo ARO piece. That's the Scots Guard's job. He's a drop zone to drop zone scalpel to snipe non-6 sense and multi-spectral visor pieces that dare to poke their head out, and if they aren't all the way turtled up, then he'll Spider-Man up a wall and shoot them dead anyway. All 3 will be in my list far more often than not. So, the Highlander event. I was initially kind of put off by the availability 1 on everything, but I signed up anyway so I could get some more games before Christmas, and well, by the end of it, I loved it. It was a great experience to get more experience. I've never claimed to be a good player, and this has helped me reevaluate my lists and how I play into my opponent. I don't quite know why, but the limited availability made my brain itch in a fun problem-solving way. It also seems to be a great hit with newer and more experienced players alike, which is great. I know IGL is trying to get more newer player friendly, but if they continue to run these lower point homebrew leagues, I think they'll be quids in. So to Headchime and all the mods at IGL, thank you for running this. And thank you for watching this. Do all the YouTube jazz, please like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.